September 3rd, 2024, that is September. Welcome to the Commissioners meeting. Start with the invocation. Commissioner Huber.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful September morning. We ask that you be with us today in our meeting. We ask that you give us wisdom in our decision making and patience and understanding with each other as we do the business of the people of our county. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So say good morning, welcome. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
I just need to add, I had a gentleman come in this morning, putting in for the airport board vacancy. So we need to add that probably under their business.
Do you unmute your mic, please?
Are there any other additions or changes?
Do we have, is Mal going to be in here this morning? Okay. I didn't know if they were ready for that or not. Okay.
Under old business, I want to add that we got a letter from the county attorney and from the city attorney just closing out this airport board thing. So I'll just update you guys on those two, or I'll have Michael update you on the two letters we received. Any other additions or changes?
Move to approve agenda as amended.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I second that.
Have a motion, it's been properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the agenda with the two add-ons, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent. Consent agenda.
I did want to tell you guys, the property insurance, there was an increase of $17,224.69, and he said that's just because of the additions of the brand new vehicles, and of course the increase in the property insurance. There will need to be a budget adjustment of $16,045, and I have that in this resolution.
That's 24.5 resolution.
And I've included the invoices that will be on the page.
I'll move to approve consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, do I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? public comment. Is there any public comment?
Hi, I'm Ed Quinones, and I would like to make a simple request of if the Board of Commissioners could please sign a grant funding to complete our lagoon project that has already been somewhat granted by the state. Here's the original piece of paper, and there's a copy. Sure. I would appreciate it.
It's just a letter of support, basically.
Yes, just a letter of support, that's all it
No
is.
funding.
No funding whatsoever, it's, the funding is gonna be, as you can read, by, granted through the mineral rights.
No, well,
We already have $250,000 for the lagoon, and it's strictly for the lagoon. It's oversized capacity, and we're always having to, put more water into it.
I'd make a motion to sign a letter of support for the Osage Improvement District on their lagoon project.
I have a motion to sign the letter to approve the lagoon project. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a motion properly seconded. Any discussion?
Just make, for the record, it's a sewer lagoon.
That's correct.
Any other discussion?
All right.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
So this is a letter from you guys. Did you have a letter prepared or did you want the board to do
That-
one similar? This is signed by the Board of Directors, Osage Improvement Service District.
If you could, I believe that you would have to make one, yes.
Okay, so just one similar to the one they presented before.
I believe so.
I'm good with that.
And thank you very much, appreciate it.
Is there any other public comment?
Morning, everybody. Stanley Jasinski, taxpayer. I'm also here today as chairman for the Weston County Freedom Festival Committee to invite the Weston County Board of Commissioners and the public to our 23rd anniversary 9/11 event. The Weston County Freedom Festival Committee, in partnership with the Newcastle, Wyoming Veterans Memorial Committee, presents our Honor Our Heroes, Memorialize Our Fallen 23rd Anniversary 9/11 Memorial Event. To be held on Wednesday, September 11th at the future site for the Newcastle, Wyoming Veterans Memorial. Time, 5 to 6 p.m., food and fellowship sponsored by Pinnacle Bank. 6 to 7 p.m., our 9/11 Memorial Program. Please come and join us on the 23rd anniversary of 9/11. Bring your patriotism, your prayers, and a chair. If there's any questions? Okay.
Just for the record, that's out of the Pinnacle Bank.
Yeah,
The people know.
yeah, okay, so, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Stan.
Any other questions? Hope to see you there.
Any other public comments? Okay, moving on to Jim. Morning, Jim.
Do some culvert replacement, not up in there yet. Still got guys trying to mow. I get some complaints from landowners about us mowing, maybe it's hot and dry, but some kind of have to do it. So just pick our voice doing it. Next week, hope to start taking the bridge out of Christensen's. That portion of that road will be closed for several weeks. I did get a preliminary traffic study in 85, so they do finally have that down. I'm just waiting on a hard copy. So they will be recommending 45-mile-an-hour speed limit out there. The one on Painted Hills, they're kind of have a snag on that one. That road actually has 3 different lanes. They would have to do 3 different studies and do different speed limits on each section. And so the one way we can get around that, is I probably have to get with Mike on it. If we deem that to be a residential area or a subdivision, we can go around doing a speed study and make a 30-mile out there. I also checked on the purchase price for our lease tractor that we're mowing with. It's $187,000. He said if we wanted to buy it and finance it, they would give us a 2.5% interest rate. Then we put our mag flags down on a piece of 85 that we did the asphalt out of, and it worked out pretty well. I think that application rate on that stuff is going to be a lot higher than what they say on their website. So that's something that's going to pay for some of that.
Well, yeah, because somebody wanted it. Yeah.
How are the blades holding up? Helping
So far,
fire,
so
with
good.
fires?
Yeah. We haven't had to run them a lot.
Yeah.
Had a couple of calls we got up there and we're on them. Better safe than sorry. Got no trouble so far.
I was concerned about, keeping them up strategically placed for when they do blow up. You guys can actually lay out there and help with it.
Yeah, we did have a code go on one of our newer John Deeres that come over and looked at it this week. We did have one of our indents go down there. He hasn't torn apart exactly what's wrong, but probably either the clutch or the transmission, so see what's fixing.
I'd like to thank you out there for helping the fire department, the rural firefighters, helping them guys out, because one night, 2 weeks ago, they were strung really thin. So kudos to your guys. I know a couple of you guys worked all through the night.
Yeah.
Got in at 8 in the morning, so, but thank you for that.
Question? Jim? I'll just leave it at Jim and we'll bring it right out.
Morning. Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Thanks for having us. We met with Jim last week and went over new estimates for options on the County Road 1A CRIP project. It's scheduled for 2027. And basically we have four options, 2 of which are pave the entire length of the road and don't do the pipe, or pave the entire length of the road and do the pipe. Or pave the greenhouse and then leave it gravel from there on and no pipe, and then pave the greenhouse, and gravel, and then do the pipe. So what it comes down to, and Isaac can go over the numbers really quick, but if we did the entire thing of pave the entire road and do a list of pipe that we inventoried out there, the county's portion would be just under $300,000. If we did not pave the entire thing and made it gravel from greenhouse all the way to the south, it'd be $200,000. So paving the entire road would be an extra $100,000. And we're to the point where we need to do this and amend our agreement again and be specific of what the scope of the project is to maintain our 2027 schedule if we want to go that route.
Did that come out of our county road fund money?
One thing to keep in mind, you guys figure 5% a year for inflation.
Inflation, yep.
So if that, if it does do 5% a year for the time of construction, that would take the cost of the new paving up to just shy of $3.5 million. With the culvert replacement, so that would put our share over $730,000.
For the difference of $100,000, it almost seems like it would be to our best interest to pave it. From that road, county road fund, and you're doing the pipe, doing the road without the pipe, I think is a mistake, in my opinion. For $100,000 to do everything, seems like it would be smart enough.
And the difference between no pipe and then the other one said it includes some pipe to determine what pipe is still you can utilize, or it's not all the piping that's going to be replaced if you go that route, correct?
No, and Mr. Chair, Commissioner, we do have a list, and I'm not sure if that's in your packet there, of the pipe that we proposed to do, and that does not include every pipe out there. So there's, after we went out and inspected them, determined that there are some that are okay. But those are the ones that are critical on that list. Yeah, you do have that one there.
Where are we at on the play?
You can just break these down for me quick, Scott. Like you got option 1 through 4, which is which?
I'm sorry. No, you're good. Mr. Chair, Commissioner, probably easier if I don't read upside down. So,
Oh, okay, I see. It says
right here on the top, yeah. Option 1, level and overlay the entire road and don't do the pipe. And then there's a total down at the bottom, and then the county's match portion, that line item right there. This is to overlay the greenhouse and leave it gravel from there on, and no pipe. There's the difference right there, 162 and 262, right? And then same thing down there, same scenario, that's doing the pipe, those two. There's a difference of 198 to 298, right? So 100 grand either way. And Mr. Chair and Commissioners, when we do amend the agreement, whichever one's selected out of those 4 right there, that would be the new exhibit, the new agreement. And the body of the agreement will spell out exactly what we're going to do.
If we did the paving, the entire road, then from what I understand from you guys, really the next scheduled maintenance on that road would be about approximately 7 years in the chip seal, correct?
Mr. Chair, Commission, possibly, yeah. Yep.
And the life expectancy roughly on that road if it was completely paved?
Usually, and Isaac might go on, chime in, but usually it's our mill and overlays 10 to 15 years. Mr. Chair, on highway.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jimmy?
I'm
You're the road and bridge man.
I'm not against paving, just keep in mind if there's a huge jump that it can go to 3 million. Then we look for 100%.
When you think over the 3 million, we pay all of it.
Yeah, and that's what I say, if it goes up 15%, which would be 5% a year, the partial repayment with culvert replacement would go up to about 230,000. Would be harder, but 15%. If they repay, it would be about 3.5 million. So that would give us a difference of about 500,000.
But you don't see it going up that much or what, obviously we can't predict. But when we were talking before, you had that built in.
Mr. Chair, I'm not going to answer that. I wish I could tell you, but the way things have gone here in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
especially the price of oil, you never know. But
I think we can limit all around if people pay that for 800,000, probably would hopefully be free for 20 years.
So is this the list of the pipes that you would replace?
Yeah.
Is that what-
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, yeah. Those are the ones that we determined are critical, that definitely need it. And then, you know, the other ones that we said are okay structurally, you know, we probably set up pipe cleaning on it anyway, you know. Let's take care of all of that, right? But that's the minor thing.
So, pipe or overlaid greenhouse gravel, is that the one we're currently on? Kind of right here, at option 4?
Yeah. Currently, we are on this overlaid greenhouse gravel the rest of the way with some pipe in there, I believe.
Thinking we were in total reconstruction.
We were at total reconstruction, so FDR in the whole way and paving to greenhouse.
Yeah, that's right. The current agreement was the big amount of complete reconstruction and paving the whole thing. So, this would scale back a little bit.
I thought we were just paving the greenhouse
No.
currently.
No.
I thought we
I
did.
thought we opted to go gravel.
Yeah, I think we switched back to that, and then we came up with these estimates, which, yeah.
I was doing the FDR from that south portion.
Go ahead.
So, say we do option 3, and we agree to do the whole thing. And it goes up to $3,600,000. Where are we at 3 years from now? Can we say, no, let's just bump back to option 4, keep us under the $3 million, deal? I mean, if we find out it's gonna cost us an additional $600,000 because we're over that $3 million mark. I mean, what is that?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Todd, yeah, you could do that, but then you're just starting the design over again,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, it would scale back, but you'd already have a whole lot of design, preliminary engineering up to that point, and then additional for any changes, right? So, that's either way. Weston County would be on the hook for all the design up to that point. If you decided not to do the project, but if you wanted to make changes and still continue on, that's just more preliminary engineering, you know, so. It'd be minor, but.
Do you think, Ted, you live out there?
Yes.
What do you think about that road? I mean, I know, did you ever get your right of ways figured out?
No, and I kind of conclusion that really I was looking for the help from the state, but it's really a county problem because it's county easements now. That square, even in the map I got from DOT, the latest one, which has been a while back, shows that square from the intersection to the bridge still my property, which means I'm still paying taxes on it. It may be just a description. I really don't know, but that's what the assessor shows on her mapping. And then the other situation that has kind of not been addressed is narrowing in the easement on the other part from 250 feet to something maybe a little more reasonable.
So is that something we need to get with a surveyor to fix that on our end to get it off of the tax roll for you?
Well, yes, and maybe sitting down with a surveyor and doing a few measurements. I'm sure a lot of that could be done on Google Map, the distances, to clarify, but we gotta show the assessor or her mapping department also that that's, you know, I'm here because I don't want to be forgotten, I guess.
Well, I agree. I think that we probably need to get that figured out as soon as possible. I mean, regardless of what we do here, we need to get that.
Sure. Common sense tells me that it was part of an easement or intended to be part of an easement, but also common sense tells me that it may have been dropped when it was given back to the county.
Well,
That I don't know. I don't know.
We've been dropping it since you showed up 4 months ago. So,
Well, I mean, dropping it a lot of years
yeah,
ago.
so maybe we need to get something done with the attorney to get something of a legal description written up of what the county road easement is, and if you guys are okay with it, we get that aspect of it fixed, I guess.
Sure, if we can satisfy the assessor, I'm sure that'll satisfy me. I'm not wanting to charge anything for that. I don't want anything out of it other than consideration of possibly narrowing that.
Good, so
I'm leaning towards be the option 3, because that, if something ever happens to that bridge going over the railroad track on 85, that road could catch a lot of use. And if it's gravel out there, then people live out there, that road's gonna get beat to crap if something ever happens to that bridge on the railroad. Concerned about if the cost goes up over the 5% over the next few years, where we're gonna be left hanging. So that's just kind of where what my feelings are on this. But it makes no sense to do the road and not fix the culverts. That's an overender to fix them while we're in the project.
Hand up.
Well, I just agree with Ed. I'd like to just really get behind this option 3, but I have the same concerns that he does. The way the prices are going up, I'm really concerned about what we might end up with inflation and costs rising so much. It's a scary thing.
I'm on board with that as well. I think we plan hope for the best. Worst case scenario, we could redo it again.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
I'm on board with that as well. I think we plan hope for the best. Worst case scenario, we could redo it again in 3 years or whatever. I mean, if it's something we can't afford, what do you think, Scott?
No.
Me?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, yeah, I mean, it's, every county's in the position that's in this program, same position, and we've been doing this quite a while, and we have these issues, but basically, the max amount that YDOT puts in is $3 million per project, per year, and anything over that, then the local entity's responsible for that overmatch. Now,
What's it cost to gravel a mile of road right now? How many miles is that? From Greenhouse to 85, roughly about a mile and a half, 2 miles.
Yeah. Then what would it cost to mag for a mile of road? So we're talking. To do gravel and do it right, we're at 50,000. So we're at 75,000 just to gravel mag for that section.
And you'll have to blade that road, for maintenance besides just before that timeline chips in.
Well, we're already running short of the 3 million mark right now, at 2,981,000. We're guaranteed the 5% inflation every year, is that correct?
that's how we, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, that's what we put in our STIP program, 5% inflation in a year.
So that's something we can bank on for 3 years, correct?
Maybe. It's an average.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, average, so what would determine the real percentage, just that year?
How much money the government prints?
Well, I guess that's kind of.
You know, it depends on where our bid prices are coming in at, you know, our average bid prices, you know, so every plan set will get a new estimate, right? And as we get closer and closer, we know where we're coming in at, you know, so.
Because the way that we're sitting right now, we can't handle any inflation for 3 years in order to stay with the dollars that we're at right now. Correct?
It's true, possibly, so that's,
15%.
you know, so.
Do you have any overlay projects in the area in 27? That looking down the road might help our bid process, you know? You know, if we have an asphalt plant set up here, doing an overlay on one of the highways, that might help us a bit.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Wagner, yeah, probably something on 116 schedule program to go that same year around there.
So we might be able to get a break on the bidding process in the contract.
Yeah, if you got one in the area, possibly, then another job, it would have less load, less haul.
I'd make a motion that we go with option 3 for the old 85 project. Be done in 2027.
May I? So that is pave the greenhouse,
Nope.
pave the entire thing,
Pays all the
and do all the pipe on that list. Just want to make it clear, thank you.
So I have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion that's been properly seconded to do the option 3 level overlay, entire road, and pipes. Any discussion?
Quick figures, if the inflation pushes us over that 3 million mark and we decide to pull out of option 3, what are we looking at expenses wise? Guesstimate. I mean, that's a rough one.
That is, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, that is very tough to estimate right now. You know, it depends on how much redesign and rework of the plans would be, you know, so, and how many man hours that takes, so. It just ups that preliminary engineering more and more, you know. And we have an estimate in there of what, 15%? 10%? So there's times we don't hit that 10%. There's times we might go, you know, but that's an average that we use in all our agreements in our projects. So.
I have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor of option 3, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Becky, will you add old 85 to the next agenda so we can solve the issue of hopefully at least get the ball rolling for Bergman's?
Just a reminder, we'll be.
Okay, thank you guys for coming in, appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. Roger.
Hi, Jim.
Good. You're up, Roger.
Well, I'll just wander up here then. How are y'all doing? So, not a whole lot new, I can update you a little bit. We increased the security around the site. We have 2 security fences now. Complete that second one probably March. The plan itself, we are testing the individual systems. We'll test those one at a time individually, and that's the plan for probably September. There's a little bit of wiring left to do with the integration and the controls so that everything works together, but we can still test the individual systems. And that's gonna go on probably most of the month. And then toward the end of the month, the schedule right now is to test the whole system together. We are still busy crushing and bagging up the material. And when we crush it, it gets down to a powder, which I think I mentioned before requires a special crusher. We had to have a special built because nothing crushes that fine usually, and that large, that's that large. So we've had our moments with that system too, because it tended to plug up very easily. So I was just out there and looks like we're past that, well, hopefully. And so basically, that's where we're at. Testing for this month. End of the month, first part of next month. Test the whole system and actually produce it in October. And that's the statement.
Roger, the second fence, was that a required thing, or was there some security problems? Or?
Well, no, yes and no, and there's an interior fence around everything, and then an exterior fence. And we can open up the exterior fence and take care of things on the outside. But it's we have everything is in there now, and if you walk through, I showed you pictures. I don't take pictures anymore because it's not okay. And but I showed you pictures. We have lots of big tanks in there, lots of wiring and piping and that sort of thing. We have all those big tanks, but now you go in there and there's parts of it looks like a scientific research lab because there's all kinds of glass and glass tubes. I mean, I'm talking about the big columns that we have, but we also have a lot of smaller glassware just because it's such a refined process. I mean, it's a high-tech, very high-tech process. And so that's all intermingled in between there. And I'd love to take pictures and show you because it's really interesting. And but it's the security, increased security is gonna, I mean, that's just the way it's gonna be. There won't be public tours and that sort of thing anymore, past the point of where we can all go in and look. But it is very interesting and intricate, and I'm anxious to see all of it working together. I watched working on one system tested this morning, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to be making more trips. I'm interested in, especially when we fire it all up. And I hope this month, next month, I can tell you that we're producing, but I think likely not. I think we'll be in the process of testing the whole system together, and then the actual production should begin early in October. So we're looking forward to that. And gain several things with that. We want to prove our reserve at Barrow. And this is the fourth plant, so we have, as we've scaled up, but we want to prove it on a larger scale of production. And then that helps us, then at that point, we will start pulling the trigger on moving forward with the money. And so we're looking forward to that happening very quickly after we start. Depending, I mean, there's going to be problems, but we don't expect a lot of major problems because we've been here before, just on a smaller scale. So that's kind of where we're at. We're looking forward to the next month and a half, and watching things progress and seeing how it progresses, and looking forward to coming back and telling you good news. Questions?
Any questions for Roger?
All right. Thank you.
for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
the update.
Do we wanna? We can take a break until 10 o'clock.
That's correct. That's what I would do.
Good.
Okay, good.
It's operating mode,
And there were some
Hello? Am I up?
columns
Assuming?
that I didn't.
There would be probably a skip,
Yes.
and you want to skip on the weather.
Thank you, Aaron.
It's been a long time, really, filled it.
I'll make a.
Okay, Erin Hershey with the 4-H program. So August went by July and August with county fair. So it was fun this morning. I just pulled a couple quick numbers. So we had 132 4-H members that had exhibits at county fair out of the 188 that are enrolled in the 4-H program. So it was really excited. I wasn't quite sure it would be that high. So that was a really fun number to see. So we had 218 static exhibits, 60 tumbleweed exhibits, and 619 animal exhibits. And that includes cat, dogs, and the livestock and everything in between there. So kind of fun numbers to look at, and I'm hoping in the next couple weeks to pull numbers from the last 4 or 5 years that we have fair data that I have access to, and just kind of see where we're at in comparison. But county fair was great. We had a lot of really great exhibits, and the kids showed up, and it's always so fun to see them doing really great things. Some of our older kids did clinics and workshops for our younger kids this summer as we prepared for fair. And we got done with the beef show, and I walked back through the barn a little while later that afternoon, and one of those older kids caught me and said, you know, the kids we helped, they did really well. And it was one of those moments where it was like, yes, they're getting it. Like they're seeing that whole kind of full circle come back through of they were the little kid, they watched those older kids, they now get to be those senior members, and seeing how much they can influence those younger kids with what they do and how they act. And it was just one of those really cool moments where it was like, okay, it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then we rolled right into State Fair, and we had 18 youth go and compete at State Fair with livestock and fashion review, dogs, poultry, rabbits, that actually went to State Fair. And then I took 121 static exhibits onto State Fair that were a blue State Fair or a purple ribbon at our county fair, so they go on to State Fair. So just some fun pictures. We actually had some really great exhibits. Cooper Miller was the grand champion intermediate beef showman at the State Fair. Jace Rich was placed 6th in beef showmanship, and JJ Lick was 4th in 4-H showmanship. Jace actually had the 3rd place overall steer at the Wyoming State Fair this year. Jory Miller's lamb placed very well. We had showmanship, kids that placed in showmanship in every species. So it was just really, our kids exhibited very well, and we brought home some big ribbons from the static exhibits, and our kids did very well at the fashion review. So it was just a really great week to watch our kids shine on the state level. and just really get involved up there. And so the one picture on the back is Julie Morris being recognized with Governor and Lady Jenny Gordon for the Fair to Fork program. So Jenny Gordon's office does a program and they buy one market hog from each county fair. So an extra that didn't go through the sale, but like Julie tagged in 2 pigs, so they can put their name into the lottery and then we just draw out they draw out one name in each county and they purchase that hog. That hog is then slaughtered and donated back to the food bank here in Newcastle. So I'm not sure if that has happened yet. I know their slaughter date was a little later, but it's a really cool program. And then they get honored during each of those kids during the State Fair Swine Show, and then they get to ride in the parade at State Fair if they choose with Lady Gordon. So very cool. I was glad that Julie got to come up and partake in that at State Fair. And then just upcoming events in the 4-H world. So we are having the 4-H Volunteer Summit in Casper, September 27th through the 29th. And it's the first time we've done this in almost a decade. So we're really looking forward to bringing a bunch of those volunteers together and doing some fun volunteer training and just kind of getting everybody excited for that new 4-H year to kick off. So National 4-H Week will be October 6th through the 12th, and that kicks off our brand new 4-H year. So it's crazy to think we're basically done with this last year and we're moving on to gearing up for our brand new year to start. And that week during National 4-H Week, we're going to have Weston County 4-H Jubilee Night, and it's going to be kind of a combination of what used to be Achievement Day. So we're going to wrap up this past year, kick off the new 4-H year. Not 100% sure yet of all the details that are going to happen there, but I would encourage all of you to come that evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do some really fun stuff with the 4-H kids and families and get everybody excited for the new year to kick off. And then that next week, I head to the NAE 4-H conference in Boise, Idaho. So I'm excited to go and learn all sorts of new stuff and be a part of that this year. It doesn't happen in the West very often, so it's kind of exciting that it's actually in our part of the world. And then Engage is November 6th through the 8th in September, and that's our annual, it used to be Epic, now it's Engage, our extension meeting. So that will happen in Sheridan this year. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm back in the office full time starting today, so decided I might as well hit the ground running and come see everybody. So any questions about 4-H stuff, fair, state fair, what's happening in the 4-H world?
Thanks for all you do. It's a pretty successful fair.
Oh, it was a good fair week. It was a lot of fun. It's always fun to see those kids really excited to be there and doing things they love. So
Thank you for coming in and updating us.
okay, all right.
Thanks, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the week. Hello. So, just kind of following up with the email that I had. I've been looking for grants and everything, so I reached out to the state budget department and asked for their help and input on it. And they said there's some foundational things that we need to do, one of which is just get a basic master plan going. That you commissioners can put together on the projects that you want to tackle, kind of prioritize it, and then also include metrics, just what milestones are we want to meet, and kind of what time frame we want to look for. And then post budgeting, so just something that you just sort of sit down and put a plan together on what you guys want to tackle. If you guys have any thoughts on that, or
It was just something we needed to be back on mind and start thinking about some of the projects that might be eligible for grants. Working on them, getting going.
That's the other thing they said is construction grants are gonna be kind of few and far in between, and it's gonna be an uphill battle for us as a county to get those, just because, we have the capacity that we're going to continue to maintain. You know, just some of the conversations that I've had with some people at the state, the challenges that we're gonna face. But right now, I was just wanting to get with you guys and maybe, I don't know if you guys wanted to do kind of a workshop on talking about that, or kind of the things you guys want to do.
We can put it back on the agenda to set up a time to maybe do a workshop to put a master plan together. If you think, let's give it some thought and figure out what's gonna work best for everybody. And everyone's okay with that.
Well, we need to include like Jimmy, Brandon, some of the, just get, maybe put the feelers out there and get the department heads what, there may be something in the office that are needed that we can cover under some of that stuff. Just kind of get where we're at, and where we want to be, picture.
Yeah. And then also,
I know with the airport, the master plan is essential when it comes down to the grant consideration and whatnot. And some of those can be long-term goals. That master plan does get adjusted as time goes on, so some of them could be put out a long ways, and it's a possibility. But as the years go by, that master plan gets a little bit more refined. But as those goals start coming in, there can be monies available for the ones that prioritize their, that year.
they say generally those plans should be like 3 to 5 year. And then the other thing they spoke of is I guess the federal grants for requesting, they're starting to really want documentation on policies and procedures for how we process grants. And they're wanting to move and start to include like cybersecurity and AI provisions, and just make sure that we're considering that in our policies and procedures. So I've been asking around, and I can't find if we have written policies and procedures for how we accept grants. So it's just sort of something we've been doing. I don't know that we have anything on paper. So that's another thing that we need to develop and have you guys review and sign off on is that specifically for how our grants.
You talk to Kelly all over Upton, because they're really good on some of that stuff. She may have some of that stuff that we can just kind of follow through and carbon copy off of.
Yeah, I was looking at one from Laramie County too. It looks like they had one really well put together on there. So I didn't know if we can sort of look at kind of what the things they included and consider it for maybe things that we want to include. So just something that I think as a county we need to work on to, have that foundation so we can build on it.
So we'll just put it back on our business for the next meeting. We'll try to come up with a plan to reach out to a few of these people that Commissioner Wagner suggested and see if we can get something together. Did you have anything?
Me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for doing this, because I know we've been encouraged, I've only been here a couple years, but the meetings I've been to, we've been encouraged to go forward and do that.
If I'm wrong on any of this, Marty Ertman can sue me. Let her have the burden of doing that right now. If any of what I'm saying is not true, she can sue me and prove that in court. But I had been frustrated by this sort of lack of accountability when the public reacted poorly to a newspaper story about commissioner actions. She would change the story and say that that's not really how it went down. What was I got out of it, and then you started covering that beat. Did that frustration, did you have that same experience leading up to the ultimate frustration of filing the secret ballot lawsuit to put a stop to that sort of thing?
100%. It's hands down the most frustrating situation I've probably ever dealt with through working at the newspaper.
The meetings I've been to, we've been encouraged to go forward and do that, to be proactive and have a plan in place. Because my understanding was when the grants do come forward, if you have your plans in place, it's much easier to possibly get in line for it. So I think it's something that's high time to do.
Is there any way you can kind of put together something, Kim, that would like give us an idea of these might be our best shots for trying to go after the, like you said, construction is gonna be real difficult, but what avenues are there that may not be as difficult, and something to basically educate me on that, because I don't know.
Right, the state grants are a lot easier to apply for, but I'm just assuming that the work that we need done is going to require the big bucks, and that's going to require money. And so before we even can start down that road, we need to make sure that we're in compliance and know what we're doing on our end before we apply. And then so I know how much money we're actually looking, when I'm looking for grants.
So I guess in your opinion, should we leave construction out of it? Do we need to try to plan more for other avenues with grant funding, or do you
I mean,
want
it depends on the projects you want to have on your plan. As far as I know, all of them have been, when I reached out and asked you, I said to upgrade county buildings, which would be construction. So I don't know if you have other ideas or things that you want to tackle. We can look at those first.
Any other questions for Kim? Thank you for your effort. We'll put it back on the agenda in your old business if we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since we're a little bit ahead of schedule, unless the board has an objection, we'll do old business and new business, waiting for William. So, old business, I'll let Michael talk about the letters from him and Dublin to make a note on the minutes so that the issue doesn't come back up again, which you would use, Michael.
Yeah, talked to the city attorney. There were some rumblings about some more confusion about what's going on. The airport board has been treated like an airport board since its inception. The funding is received that way. Federal grants are received that way. The operation of the board has been operated like that in that way. So it's an airport board. And I got with the city attorney because I guess there was some question about whether the city should be involved on appointments and all this and removals. And just like us, we can't, he doesn't have any knowledge right now of any organizational documents. But my recollection, the city really hasn't taken part in appointments or removals or anything like that to this point anyway. So Dublin, the city attorney is going to try to find something maybe in their records about an organizational document. All we could find are those minutes from December of 1954.
But wasn't it, it was my understanding from reading Dublin's email that he said it didn't matter whether it was a board or an advisory board, statute would still apply that they need to live within the county. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're in agreement that the statutes, both in Title 18, Title 10, has to be a county resident to be on that board, especially the way it's operated. I was trying to get there. So, yeah. So county resident makes sense. Again, it's a bad situation. don't like the situation, but the statute, both statutes say either a resident or a qualified elector. So.
Thank you. So hopefully that's noted in the minutes and we'll simply refer to it in the future. New business, airport board, vacancy.
So you guys can just read that. The gentleman brought it in this morning, his name's Deanna Docking Board. It's from Upton. Deanna and Dan.
He's clearly qualified, but, I guess it's my thought that people who we're putting on this board, I think we should at least visit with them. It's not actually like even an interview, but to introduce ourselves, for them to introduce themselves to us. Just get to know them a little bit and what their thought processes are. And it's our responsibility, once they're there, then our responsibility is to make sure that we put somebody on there that is gonna be trustworthy, and that's just my thought on it. I think since he lives in Upton, we could possibly have him come to our next meeting that's in Upton and just meet him before we make that decision.
I'd be good with that, if you can make it a meeting that's 2 weeks and up and.
So set up an interview with them, then make it next meeting.
If available, you know.
By phone.
By phone would be okay.
Yeah.
Or Zoom. Alright. Just wait a few minutes. Paint on the dome up here. Did you find out anything about that?
I sent you guys that voucher, because you're asking to look that up. I don't know if that was the one that you guys were wanting. That was the last paint job that was done on the outside. So it was done in July of 22.
And it was done by Hurricane Services.
Did Hurricane actually paint the cupola over, or did they just paint the trim?
I see, that's what it was asked. I don't remember if they did. I know that they did.
I know they was doing all the trim. I don't know if they did the cupola as well.
I don't know, but
Some
the
of the
trim
trim
is what's
being
coming
too.
off the trunks.
Some of the big spots, if there's, it's also galvanized in too. It's getting paint instead of galvanized.
I mean, I guess the question is what type of warranty was there, if there was, and how long of a time frame do we expect something like that to last? So this is something too that I would recommend that we invite Sean here and talk about it and see if we can't come to an agreement, because it's coming off in chunks, right? And it is peeling pretty good, so I know there's prep that has to be done for that. If it's not done correctly, it's going to shorten its lifespan, so it's up to the board, but that's what I would say is put it on your old business and see if he can attend and see what he's willing to do. Maybe he's willing to take care of it. I don't know.
And you might know too if they actually painted the cupola or
Right.
what was all painted too. And then be fair to them to ask them to put them on the agenda. And if we want to make it up and at least make it after here, the first meeting.
Yeah, we would up to the first meeting here, unless you guys disagree.
And I'll try to do some more research and see.
So we're looking at almost, well, we're past the 2-year mark, I guess, but.
Should have more than 2 years.
Well, I don't know what was implied or what agreement was made, so.
Probably nothing. Stuff on that. Stuff on that cupola, I don't know how you'd ever get paint to stick to. I mean, short of roughing it up real bad.
Maybe I know it's auto body, but what would you have to do to that?
Galvanized stuff, you gotta neutralize galvanized in order to get it to adhere to it more. Something a little bit more substantial, epoxy primer over an etch, epoxy primer on the front side. But that would be just to galvanize on it, so it needs special treatment. Another thing I was wanting to kind of consider too, I did look down over that invoice, and the invoice was extremely vague. It just said labor, materials, and it was just kind of a one number deal. That a little bit more in-depth invoice might help us out with things like this. It was just a kind of a one line item. Parts
Yeah,
labor.
strip and scrape, old flaking paint, and repaint new on
Materials and things that was all kind of one item or one line.
It might have been vague at the time, when we got them to do it, it might have just been the trim.
Well, then the,
But I guarantee you that they didn't do any prevent or pre-treatment on that galvanized. Just painted it.
40,000 is what they was.
yeah, because it says includes all labor, equipment, tools, and materials.
Big chunk of that was getting a huge man lift in here.
Because I don't know if it includes that, because it says scrape, strip, and repaint courthouse was handled.
So we'll invite them to either the next meeting in Upton or the next one in Newcastle and see if we can figure out a solution to it. It's gonna get worse before, obviously. Is that okay with the board?
Yeah, the Jose guy, it was Jose, right? That did it? Or
Yeah,
whatever. So is he still in the community? He'd be the one who would know. Julio. Sorry. So Sean may not even know.
Julio was the concrete guy.
But he was, I think he also did the painting.
Yeah, but I'm not sure who painted it.
We had 2 Julios.
But the invoice is from Hurricane Services.
Yeah.
So hopefully somebody would know.
I think Julio worked for Sean.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I remember talking to him out here by the lake when they were doing it.
All right, so
Yeah, because you and the court were Barton went up in the man lift.
So in this 5 minutes before we get to William, so Vicki Hayman has asked for a letter of recommendation in support. She's getting renewed. I think you guys got the information she sent. She obviously does a good job for us. I don't know how the board feels about it, but I mean, I certainly don't mind helping her get her letter to extend her contract, whatever that might be. But how does the board feel about it?
Do we need to write the letter?
Yeah, and this is all the stuff that she suggested going in the letter, but yeah, you guys have to write a letter. And I don't, according to the UW extension fixed term with rolling contract. I don't know, we've never done it before, so I can't even call back on the letter. Maybe she has one from before.
Vicki, can you hear us?
Might just be locked on.
Can you hear us, Vicki? I can't hear you, but. We can't hear you. Yeah, it doesn't show it on this.
Why doesn't it say it on here? You have the letter
Can you click on? There.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you, Vicki.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So what is it that you're I mean, I know you're looking for a letter of recommendation. The suggestions you put down, what is it that you'd like us to write? Give us an idea of what you're looking for.
I sent along also some ideas, but just that you're in support of me in the extension office for another 6 years, probably won't be that long, but that's what the contract is for. It renews for at least 5 years, and then they roll it over every year. So it's just looking for support that we continue this position in Weston County. And that I've done a good job for you guys. This is pretty standard operating procedure every time they ask for letters of support from agencies, entities within the county, within my CBHT.
So just generally a letter of recommendation, recognize your efforts in the office is all you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I move to support the letter of recommendation in support of Vicki Amon.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Oh, all right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Do we want to ask maybe if she wants to put a letter together to sign, or do we want to? Okay, all right, that's fine. Well, I get that, but I mean, I'm not, she had quite a list there, so. All right, thank you, Vicki.
Thank you. Appreciate your support, everybody.
Good morning, William. Morning. Go ahead. Thank you. I'm here today because I'm requesting the board, or trying to get before the board for its consideration, issuance of a letter from the board to Frank Eathorn. A letter requested by Frank. A letter that would give notice in writing for his request of the board's action in resolving, taking the resolution it did number 2024-10 on the 2nd of April of this year. The 2nd of April, the resolution 2410 passed. Was adopted by the board. It initiates a procedure provided for by Wyoming statute for the state party of the previous office holders of the position of Weston County representative and the position of Weston County senator. It provides a procedure by which the state party, for the affiliation of the previous holders, which was Republican, so for the Republican state party to assemble precinct committee men and committee women of the county, come up with a list of 3 names for each vacant position, and submit those 3 names, each list back to this board, which would then, pursuant to statute, be authorized to select 1 name from each list of 3, 1 name for each position. As you all know, or you wouldn't be sitting behind the desk there, many people and citizens have different views of things. And I took the view back in April that the resolution was self-executing. It stated itself that this is notice. You received this document, here's notice. Though we recognize these vacancies exist. Other people see things differently. And in any event, and I did talk directly to Frank, and I did talk to the state party's attorney for reasons that they think sufficient. They requested a separate written notice. Why there's been a delay, I'm not sure. I think that too depends on who you ask, whether it was good reason for delay or not, and perhaps there was. But I'm here today because the primary election's over, and others might now see it as an appropriate time for this board to issue the letter to the state party chair to
get the process rolling so that they can come up with a list of 3 names for each open position, forward those lists to you, and you can then make your decisions. Others may think it should be delayed further, et cetera, I don't know. I myself think it's a propitious time, and I hope the board goes forward and issues the requested written notice. The attorney was particularly interested in getting a written notice. The only sympathy I have for him is I do know that in a court, when the attorney thinks everything will get to court, if the judge says, was there a resolution, then it's nice if you can pick up a piece of paper that says, see, resolution 24-10. Was there written notice? You're going to lose some judges if you pick up the same piece of paper. You'll keep more judges with you. You have a second piece of paper to answer this second question. Was there written notice? Yes, here's the document. There's written, there's notice. It's in writing. He may have had better other reasons, but that might be sufficient. In any event, I'm hoping the board will act now, and thank you for your consideration.
Any questions?
What's your thought, Michael?
My thought, I think it's in theory, great idea. I just think when we're talking about judges with the case law, I think they're going to say it's a void process. I don't think that there's going to be a vacancy declared by a court, because it's going to go that way probably, right? So I just don't know what effect it has other than initiating litigation. So. Process. I don't think that there's going to be a vacancy declared by a court, because it's going to go that way probably, right? So I just don't know what effect it has other than initiating litigation. So.
If it goes to litigation, who pays the bill?
Who's litigating it? How does he get there? By what? Who? Weston County's not going to. Is it? State Republican Party's not going to. Who? I think that Frank's concerned that the state party will end up in litigation. I think that too was part of his request for some delay, because they want to clear their plate a bit.
Who's gonna tie up our county attorney's office?
Well, you'd be well off, those who were against this, because if he goes into court on this issue, he'll just say, run up the white flag. He's not gonna fight for the county.
1 second on that. I have to represent them to my best abilities according to what they want. So it depends on what
And
they want.
you just did. You just told them it's a losing proposition. Don't go forward with it. That's the best you can do. But that, to me, that's a good question. I myself have stated, we're in America, everything will get into the court of law, unfortunately, right? It's not up to the court to declare vacancies, it's up to the county, and you've already done it. That's a function not given to a court, that's given to a political body, legislative body, county commissioners. Still, hey, that's a good question, but why wouldn't you want this issue defended if it's attacked by people that say you don't deserve the representation guaranteed to you by the Constitution. Why wouldn't you oppose that? You're not going into court attacking them, but if they come after you because they don't like you asking for what the Constitution guarantees you, why wouldn't you oppose me?
You're asking me that?
Yeah.
My question is why, if it's a losing proposition that we go after this, why would we tie up county resources and funds?
Okay, I'm not going down that slippery slope, that ill-defined. You just picked up on the most general word in the English language, it. He used the word it once, and now you act like you know what he meant when he said the word it. You didn't ask him one question about what he meant by it. It is a losing proposition. What is the it?
What is it?
The it, from the case law, from what I can tell, is that, and I'm just saying what the case law says, okay? Again, like the idea in general, and in theory, the case law says, and I'm not saying that it is the case law, I'm not saying whether I agree with it or not. The case law does say that the districting can happen and a vacancy is defined specifically by statute. Somebody dies, resigns, gets removed from office. None of those conditions for vacancies exist. So that's it.
You see now that you've heard what it is, you'll notice what's missing. His review of relevant statutory law. You are not making a statutory law argument. The board has asserted a constitutional right. And I'm afraid, even in Wyoming, as to the contrary of what the Constitution provides for is null and void when challenged. So I'm sure he's right. I'm sure the legislature has proceeded for 30 years, passed all the laws it needs to tell itself it's doing the right thing. The fly in the ointment is it's ignoring the Constitution. The United States Supreme Court in Mapp versus Ohio observed that the quickest way for the government to lose respect and authority is to ignore its own charter. That's what it's done here. It is told by the people through its constitution how there will be representation in the legislature. And now it ignores it. So, yes, council reviewed the statutory law, he's probably right, probably a good review. It's not thorough enough. The issue is what about the conflict between the Constitution and the statute? That's where the battle will be. And there, I think it's rosier, the outlook. Look, we saw that in recent memory, you saw the Wyoming Supreme Court reverse the legislature over its attempt to move all the duties from the constitutional position of school superintendent to the legislatively created position of education. What's the right word for it? Superintendent education. And the legislature passed all the laws it wanted to say, what we're doing is fine. Supreme Court said, well, yeah, but except the Constitution says you can't do it. That's what you got going here.
I would just say that you guys all decided back in April that it was the constitutional thing to do. And I didn't hear anywhere in your oath of office that you would uphold the Constitution as long as you didn't have to worry about being sued or as long nobody protested it. No, you took that oath at any risk, at any cost. If there's a function that we have as a government, it's to hold the Constitution. Costs be barred. There's no manpower or resource more important than this. Because if we don't have a county, we don't have county commissioners. If we don't have county, we don't have a county clerk. She's trying to do part of Crook County's work. She's doing some for Niobrara. Niobrara sending her stuff. She's got to send them stuff so all the votes can be counted. We're basically running here on a abortion of government. And you guys made the commitment. I mean, all you're doing is recognizing that you said that and that you're holding your oath of office and the Constitution needs to be upheld. if we gotta go to court, if we don't do nothing, we're sunk. We got people that voted, that told me this. I voted for J.D. Williams. I said, did you know he wasn't from Weston County? Well, no, I didn't know that. So, you know, what kind of, and it's hard because people don't understand why I live in Osage and have a different representative than you guys in Newcastle. They just don't understand that. They're used to county deal. We've got to get our county back to keep this building a county courthouse. And this is how we do it.
Are there any other questions? I appreciate your.
One question, William, how do we keep this out of a federal court?
Yeah, hopefully that, well, in my view, it'll get to federal court, but it will be bounced back if it's handled correctly. It's not a federal issue. It is a Wyoming state constitutional issue. And as long as nobody confuses that with a federal issue, then you'll stay in state court. Most people make that confusion when they perhaps somewhat thoughtlessly want to challenge the one man, one vote principle. I'm not. In discussions prior to the board's adoption of the 2410 resolution, and there were several, I made it clear I wasn't doing that, and I encouraged the board not to do that, and to understand that you're not challenging that. That if you're successful in this effort, the likely outcome would be a larger legislative body in Wyoming. Not a challenge to one man, one vote. But that's where it'll come from. They'll say that, they'll squawk that, they'll tweak the news to try to convince everybody that's what you've done. So the defense is don't do it. Don't be saying it to the newspaper, don't be saying it to yourselves, don't be challenging the federal principle of one man, one vote. Federal courts have said themselves Wyoming could comply with both constitutions. It chooses to.
A case law you might want to look up is go back to Sheriff Mack when he went to the Supreme Court. They ruled on the gun rights, but that's a way broader case. It basically says that the federal courts cannot dictate to a state legislature. And I relayed that to Frank, and I presume him and his attorney looked it up, and they're still wanting to deal. So I think, because when I mentioned it to Frank, he goes, that's right. He said, I forgot about that. We will look that case up. But it clearly states.
So, just playing devil's advocate here for a minute, like, say we go down this road, and Weston County ends up with the same amount of seats as Natrona County, right? In theory, that's the perfect world. Everybody gets one.
You just conflated the issues. If you go down the state constitutional road, Weston County will get a representative and will get a senator, and it would be vastly outrepresented by the people from Natrona County.
Exactly. So what I'm asking,
Not
can I
okay,
finish?
so not the
William,
same.
may I finish? So if we go down this road, what's stopping these larger counties with 100,000 people in them almost, there's two of them, that could control a major portion of this vote, of pushing something through by vote to just repeal that section of the Constitution?
No. Unless it's a constitutional amendment.
Which is what they would potentially do, and
And
null
maybe
and void.
And maybe they should.
And you're right. I think maybe they should. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the right answer.
And I think nobody should, and most of the majority of the board has agreed with me, no Wyoming citizen should be comfortable with or tolerate, well, legislature that won't recognize the bounds set for it. Now, we have the powers for people to change the bounds. But what I find ugly in this situation is a loose legislature that doesn't think it needs to follow the limits set for it.
I think, again, just my opinion, we've already made the motion and passed it. As I said, when we pass the motion, there's gonna be a lot of speed bumps, and I think it's inevitable that it's gonna end up in federal court. I also agree that I think what they're saying is correct. Only a court's gonna be able to decide that ultimately. And by doing nothing, we'll get absolutely nothing. It has to start somewhere, and that's why I passed it to begin with. I'm not above the Constitution, so we ought to abide by the Constitution. I realize there's interpretation in there too, which is a lot of our statutes, but we did pass it. This is just a follow through to doing what we already passed, at least from my point of view.
So instead of declaring a vacancy, which I have no authority to do, why don't we go down that road of a resolution to start the process, to bring it to a vote of the people, to fix the issue of the Constitution as it's written, because it doesn't work for everybody now.
I myself have better uses for my energies than making an argument that Detroit County might think of, but I'm not interested in it.
I'm aware of that, but
And you're, I believe, in error to say you had no authority. You have no authority with respect to the issue of declaring the vacancies. That is an authority expressly given to the commissioners. Just no one exercises it for 30 years.
all for the question.
That shit says that everybody's been in violation of the Constitution for 30 years.
I know.
Somebody's gonna take a stand.
I was for the resolution, and I still am, knowing that in an attempt to keep Weston County whole, which we have wanted for various reasons and representation for our county, to consider what other counties might do in retaliation to a decision that we make is out of our control, but we need to focus in on the things that we can do. And I believe that this is something that we can. If there is, other counties can do whatever their power and whatever their concerns and interests are also, but if this is something that we're interested in, instead of just saying, hey, go down to Cheyenne, and can we stay whole? Nope, can't do it. Okay, I'll see you in 10 years. This is something that we as a county and the interests of the people, obviously, is interested in. This is something we can do. I'm still for the resolution. And if Frank needs a written notice or whatever he is requesting, I think we should provide him with that.
So you're wanting us to sign, if I'm looking at this document here.
I submitted it as a draft.
Okay.
I'm not wedded to it, but how it might be presented. I think it's good to go. I think I got rid of the spelling errors, etc. But you'll probably, it's just a draft.
So I just want to remind the board also that in the Weston County Republican Party's caucuses, precinct committee men and women from around Weston County came and they promoted to send this resolution to our convention. And at our convention, all the delegates there, I think it was unanimous, voted to accept this resolution and send it to the county commissioners and the state. And that's at the state convention, the state adopted this resolution also. So this isn't just, this was the voice of Weston County bringing this resolution to you. Thank you.
Don, it did occur to me if you might approve the draft, want to use the draft, I don't know the answer, but the board may want the clerk to put that draft on letterhead, etc.
I think that's easy enough to do.
I just have to send it to me in Word.
Yeah.
Which I done. I think. Okay, thanks.
At the state convention, this resolution wasn't gonna get out of committee at the last minute. And Mick Bone, who was our representative for the county, he's a precinct man and a state committee man, brought it up, pushed it, and then the Secretary of State, he got it out of committee, and then the Secretary of State took it to the general, to the floor. And with between those two speaking in favor of it, I don't know if that's what got it, but it did pass unanimously. So if you were not standing alone, the Secretary of State has argued this argument for us at the state level. We gotta support him. He's trying to do what's right. We either stick together as a constitutional free republic or we have no republic. Thank you.
I think, I think we just need to really remember when you took this office, you took an oath to support that Constitution, no matter what. And that was first and foremost before you did any work for the county. And I take that seriously. I think the reservation comes from the worry about cost of going to court. But I see that, everybody's behind it, Secretary of State's behind it. That's a big plus. It can only go so far, I guess, if it's shot down somewhere along the way. It's shot down along the way. And I guess at that point, it would be probably then our option if we wanted to fight it in court or not. That,
My understanding from Frank, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, is that they were going to bring their resources to bear on this, because frankly, we don't have the money to fight something like this, which I've said before, and the commissioners may have heard before. So to me, this is just the next step to getting it to where it's gonna ultimately be decided by court, and that's where Frank asked for us to delay until after the election, and so that he could bring all his resources to bear on it. If I'm wrong or misspoken there, please tell me. But that's what I understand.
I think that's generally right. I ascribe some less charitable motives for why the state party wants control of litigation, but I think you're right. And but with one caveat, I think Nathan's pointed out correctly that the final answer may not be the court at all. It may be a constitutional answer.
But I think that would come, I think he is right, just to make that clear, but I think that will come with the litigation process, and clearing the road for this would be signing this as we said we would. That's correct.
But wouldn't that be a win? Even if we got it to where the people of the state could vote which way they wanted to go, to me, that's a win.
Yeah, the legislature never asked the people for authority to do something different than the Constitution allows. Never asked.
So I just would need a motion, chairman's signature on this. Just to, go ahead.
I have a quick kind of question. I understand the constitutional side of it there. Do we meet the criteria to vacate the position? What is stated in, what states the criteria to declare a vacancy? Do we meet that criteria?
Article 3 of the Constitution?
You did not create, yes, there's criteria for who declares a vacancy in state law. You did not create vacancies. You declared those positions vacant due to the annoying fact that they are vacant.
We still have a representative in Weston County.
Who represents the whole
Weston
county?
County.
Well,
The Constitution says Weston County, we don't have one.
Although, along that federal court issue, please be careful. I think Dan's right. But I don't like the phrase Weston County gets represented.
Right.
I look at them as positions created by the Wyoming State Constitution. How do you district for legislative elections? You district by county lines. But if you say that, see, under the federal view, only individual people are represented in the legislature. And if you say the county's getting represented, they'll use that to get into federal court and stay there. The Wyoming State Constitution provides for legislative elections that the state be districted, no at-large positions for the legislature, and that the districts follow county lines. So keep that in mind. It's a constitutional method of districting the state. It is not a method of providing counties with representation instead of individual people.
It's been a while since I actually read that Constitution. Does this say that counties will have at least one?
Yes,
Would
the Constitution says.
Okay, the argument's gonna be, we have two.
No, we have none. No, well, see, okay, back to that. I'm doing what I accused you of doing. I acted like I knew what you meant.
Thanks for clarifying. Maybe I don't know what I meant.
There are currently people going to the legislature claiming to represent some of the county. Those positions are created by the legislature. We're asking that the constitutionally created positions be filled. Those positions provide for districting, but the district lines are the county lines. What doesn't happen if you follow the Constitution is somebody draws a line through the middle of the county and says, well, part of you vote here and part of you vote there.
So the very first line of the Article 3, Section 3 says, each county shall constitute a senatorial and representative district.
District, right.
Yeah, so if you get rid of that line, everything else is gray and you end up with what we have. But with that line is what William's arguing, is you have to represent that line of the Constitution. That's what.
Well, are you agreeing with me that that is it's provided for?
Yeah, and so if you argue the other side of it, that without that district aspect of it, that's where it gets into the mud.
Yeah, don't try to not say county represent county, the county gets represented, because that'll get you in federal court.
Real quick, and then we got.
On that, Nathan, if you go on back into the Constitution where it talks about a federal representative, it clearly states that if Wyoming ever qualifies for more than one rep, we can divide into districts. But even that district cannot cross a county line. It has to follow the county line. There'd be 13 counties or 12 counties, but you can't put a half a county in that. So 2 places in there, it states that. And that clearly comes under the statute that you can't split a county into a district.
Well, I'm willing to fish, William. I don't know if it's gonna get you anywhere, but I'm willing to fish.
I'll bring the worms.
Good man.
Chairman's signature for the written notice.
Could you speak a little louder, please? Okay.
I moved for the chairman's signature of the letter of vacancy for constitutional districting.
Yeah. As provided in the draft and placed on county dictionary by the clerk. That's probably what you meant.
I'll go to the, I'm not reading that.
I'll second that with one caveat to you, that it has wording that it will follow Wyoming state constitution. That way, if there's anything comes back, what that first line in the state constitution says, it's very clear that we are pushing it for the state constitution.
That's already handled by 1403
Well,
resolution.
I know, this way, this motion will say that we are following Wyoming state constitution, that we've all taken an oath of office to uphold.
I think
That's already done.
Well,
I think it's just
when it clarified in that motion, that way, when somebody goes back looking through the
Oh,
records,
excuse me, I misunderstood.
if somebody goes back looking through our records, they could say that this motion stated that we are following the state constitution.
In signing the requested notice. Thank you.
That's why I wanted that in there, so 30 years from now, if somebody looks back on this, they can say that this is why, it's for record keeping.
30 years from now, only one of Danny's grandchildren will.
I'm good.
So I have a motion, I think,
Sure.
properly seconded with the addendum to add that we're following the Wyoming Constitution.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
I just have one. If it's voted on and if it's approved, I know Clerk Hadlock did try to send me over, I think, the draft letter, but it didn't attach for some reason. I would just like an opportunity to look through it and make sure it's right before it's sent off. If you guys approve it, obviously. So,
Well, you got it now.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna need a chance to. You know, Mr. Val brought up that case. Let's look into that. I just want to make sure it's crafted right for you guys, the way it's supposed to be.
Well, so we have the motion properly seconded. Any other discussion, of course, with the attorney's approval on the letterhead? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
This is good if you think you're going to court, because you just created another prima facie piece of evidence.
That's why I wanted that wording in there.
If you don't have it, let me have my copy.
Yeah, need it.
No, I got a minute. You want me to just email it to you?
Yeah, could you do that? I just want to take a look at it.
It's almost.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
Just like
Oh, okay. Thanks. Want that back?
Here we go. She also protects us too.
Good luck.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. All right. So welcome to elected officials comment. Hello.
Good morning.
Can you guys just, not everybody knows you, but state your names for the people on there and then we'll. There you go.
Tina Cody, Clerk of District Court. Susie Overman, Treasurer. Carolyn Maxon, Assessor. Thank you. Won't take up much of your time. We were given a proposal from the HR. Just have some questions, concerns regarding the proposal. In looking at it, I felt, and I'm speaking on behalf of most of the elected officials, so if I speak out of turn, no, you're fine. Please let me know. It looked to me from the proposal that it was combining county administrator with HR. I don't know as if that's an acceptable thing to do, considering our luck with county administrators in the past. It seems that we lost some money on our last one. And I think after this this comment that I'm gonna make now, it should be a moot point, that I'm not sure where the funds will come from to allocate towards an HR. And I feel like this is retroactive or reactive versus proactive. I don't know what's happened in the county. I'm not sure what all of a sudden the push is for HR. At this time, I'm not opposed to HR by any means, and I don't think any of us are. But at this time, where we've been told we can't increase our budget line for wages for our employees, where is this money gonna come from when we have an elevator that doesn't work and we have to come down and meet our customers so that they do not have to take the stairs? They're not able to take the stairs. Where would it be sustainable if we can't have sustainable income increases for our employees? Where it sounds like she wants to be a contractual, so month to month, am I understanding that correctly? If the 90 days is successful and the county feels that she should be held on, where is that $2,500 gonna come from? Considering we've been told that there's no budget.
I guess first, where did you guys get them?
I sent it out and told people that they
Because
should.
we haven't even talked about it. So why are you, I guess we haven't even discussed it to any, we have it, but we haven't discussed it, what we would want her to do and what we wouldn't want her to do. So I think you're getting a little ahead of things here.
Are we?
Yeah, because we haven't even had a discussion about it. We met her last time and she gave us what she could do. That was her proposal. We haven't discussed what we want her to do. Nathan said that day that there were some things on there that we wouldn't necessarily need and that we would have to discuss it.
Should there even be a discussion at this time where
Well,
their budget
I think
is
there
so
should
tight?
be. I think we're just kicking the can down the road until we get kicked in the butt by something. You know, we have somebody who would possibly contractually just set up a base system for us. So we have somewhere to start, so everybody's on the same page, and then possibly she could be available on a contractual hourly basis when we have a problem that comes to Michael's office and it's confidential, or perhaps there's a conflict of interest. We have an outside source available for our employees. We don't have anything right now for, I know you're gonna say employers council, but employers council is for supervisors. It's not for hourly employees. And so, and then the other thing is, you know, clearly going through the handbook for 2 years, trying to get everybody to be consistent. There's still things out there that aren't consistent, that if we had it all consistent and we had an outside source helping us get that base program in place, it'd be easier for everybody to follow in the future. It's no different than hiring a consultant to do anything. I mean, we hire a consultant to do our BLM Forest Service stuff because that person knows what they're doing and we don't. It's the same kind of thing, that you get somebody who knows what they're doing to set up a system for you so you don't get in trouble.
That's understandable, and I think that's where we're every business entity should have an HR. I've been in contact with Employers Council regarding my employees. They are fantastic, and they will reach out if need be to that employee. So I'm not understanding where you're coming.
Because they're not set up for the hourlies to call them unless we pay more money, which we've been paying $7,500 a year for their fee. So let's take that $7,500 and set up our own base for our own HR system that we have in place that we can go forward. And that way, if we have a problem, everything's consistent and everything's, you know, you're here now, you're here now, you're here now. 4 years from now, maybe one of you's not going to be here.
You might not be here either.
I may not be here either. But we'd have a system set up so our hourly people have a chance to have everything fair and equitable. And we know that, and that's what we should be taking care of those hourly people. That's our value in employees, and we want them to feel like we care about them. We want them to have a base where they can go for help. We want them to have somebody that can be confidential and out of the system to talk to. And we also want, I'm sure, I hope you do want everything to be consistent as far as how we do annual reviews, what they're actually used for, our salary tiers, is that the right way to go? Is everybody using them consistently, or is one employee getting paid more than another? And they find out, and then they say this isn't fair. There's all sorts of things that can happen that if we just get a baseline going, I think a lot of it will come back into your hands. It'll just all be consistent. And then we'll have somebody possibly that our hourly people could have, maybe, you know, this is my hope, we could have a phone number for them to call if they have a problem. And that's going to hopefully keep some big things that have almost happened in the last couple of years from happening. I mean, we've had some close calls.
I disagree with that. I don't know that we've had any close calls, but I'm the one that asked Becky that she should probably get this in front of the electeds because they are their employees, and we need to know what services they're already getting that we don't potentially want to try to overlap or circumnavigate them in some situation that this gal may be offering as a proposal to offer. I do see some value in something that she might be able to offer. Like one of those was to help develop a pay scale deal. I mean, if she's got some education in that process, I think that's great, but I think it's important that these ladies are here and be able to help with that decision-making process on what they can help provide for their employees or what is already being provided for their employees or whatever. But
Thank you, I appreciate that. Back to the outside source, who is Ms. Romano? Where is she?
She just happens to be someone that lives in our community that has the experience that we need. Who is anybody? Who are you? I mean, she just happened to come along who she has the experience needed.
And I appreciate that, and I understand that as well, but I sat in an open meeting and Mr. Taylor asked me if HR was needed, and I said, absolutely. However, it can't be a relation to anyone in that works for the county.
I don't think anybody's related to her.
It's
close friend.
Well, and to clarify,
relation.
how is it not relevant that we don't have any unbiased representation for our employees, which is what I think she should do for it. That has nothing to do with the department head. I mean, what's frustrating, at least to me, or has been, is that we had a board previously that said we needed a new handbook. I didn't vote for a new handbook, and I don't think Nathan voted for the handbook. But we had a fight over the handbook because then it was, well, we don't have to follow the handbook, that we wanted to pay the person to do the handbook. It seems to be a fight every single time, and that subscription or per-script, whatever you want to say there for that employee relations, we did have extra charges. When we had the fairgrounds incident, we had separate bills that we had to pay on top of it. There has been, I don't know where we haven't had any close calls. We've had some close calls that could have gone further with certain things. Didn't, luckily.
Disagree.
Did we have close calls, Michael?
Depends on how you define close calls, I guess. There was a couple.
Did we have a potential for litigation?
The county was not liable for anything.
Yeah, I mean, there was obviously threatened litigation, so. But
I just don't, I mean, we want to do our own thing and we don't want anyone to tell us how to do it, but we've had employee issues. So we don't want a handbook, but yes, we do want a handbook. We approve a handbook, but then we don't want the handbook and we don't have to follow the handbook. And then does every person know, or, I mean, our training, from what I've heard, is scattered at best from our evacuation plan. How many of the employees actually know what the evacuation plan is if this building started to burn, where would they go? There's orientation that needs to be done, which is HR, more thorough and documented, and I just don't understand what the fight is about when it's just trying to give the employee the best possible employment that they can have. I would love to be able to see cost of living raises, which I've been a big supporter of, but that doesn't seem to happen. We don't have the money to do it, and we don't have the money not to do it. We just kind of let it roll and hope for the best. So, yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, I fully support an HR position, but the county attorney's already said they can only do it temporarily. So the next time we have any kind of investigation similar to the fairgrounds, then we're going to pay extra. That's not a, call the head department head and we're not going to get a bill. We did get bills for that. So I just don't understand if there was an investigation that had to be done, why it wouldn't be a good plan to have somebody who is not a department head. Here's what we have. They do the research and the investigation, and then we save money, I would think, compared to what that one was. I don't know. I just find it a little bit weird that we want to approve these things and did approve those things, and then we don't want to follow. They don't apply to us.
I'm not understanding who you're referring to.
I'm referring to just a simple handbook. We had a dispute where we don't have to follow the handbook anyway,
But we're not talking about the handbook.
but it's all
We're trying to talk
HR
about
related.
HR.
Correct.
The
It's
policies and
all
procedures.
HR related. However, it's the funding that I'm concerned with.
And that's a good concern. I definitely agree with that.
Where would this be coming from? Where we can't afford even a 3% cost of living raise, where,
We're talking
we have
we're
seen.
talking 90 days.
But then you want to put her on continual.
Well, she's not gonna get a continual salary. She would be
As needed.
as needed. We're talking 90 days.
So 90 days to implement HR and then you find an HR person.
No. Then you'd have a system in place that hopefully you could all track, you could all be on the same page, tracking training. She would be available to do training when we needed it. If
When you say
all of
training,
those things,
what do you
sexual
mean by?
harassment, all those kind of things that we should be doing by federal law, we should be doing all that stuff. There's things that I respect all three of you, all four of you a lot, but I'm questioning why you don't want to help your employees. Sometimes I think we can find the money for 90 days to have her do these things for us. We can find the money to do a whole lot of other things that aren't nearly as important. And I think this is very, very important.
I think they should be put out to people, not just hiring the person that brings this proposal in and say, okay, I want
Is a
I want to
contractor,
work for you, here it is.
You mean bid it?
we can put it out for bids.
And I don't disagree with that.
I asked to do that before. You can put it out for bids. You're not gonna find anybody that's gonna do it that cheap, and you all know that. But we can put it out for bids.
But you guys have already voted this down twice. How many times do we have to keep going over and going over and going over until you guys get on?
I'm gonna keep fighting for the hourly employees of the
Raises
county.
have been voted down too. That doesn't mean we stop asking for raises.
Right, but how many times during the meeting or during meetings, how many, are you gonna do this every meeting now, or are we gonna?
Are you gonna come every time to say we shouldn't do it?
Probably, if it's on there, yeah.
Okay.
If the budget allows, absolutely. If the budget allows, absolutely HR should be one of the top discussions.
But not this, whatever they call it, ministry.
I don't even know that was, I don't remember that even being talked about, the administrative side. I'll be honest.
It's the same thing as administrator. does.
Right, I remember we had one.
We've had several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that's ever come up. We're just talking about an HR person.
So I have a question. So she's just
Wait,
laying.
hold up. Go ahead, Aaron. He was,
Chairman.
no, he was, yeah, go ahead. About you.
Okay, so this is just laying the groundwork for an HR person, but we're not gonna have an HR person?
That is correct. Well, she is willing to be a consultant that would be able to work with Michael's office or talk to employees when needed.
Okay. Secondly, I'm offended at the insinuation that we don't care about our employees, because we do. And I'm not opposed to an HR person at all. I'm just going to say that. I think HR is important. I also think it's important how we go about obtaining a person, and I strongly wish for there not to be any conflict of interest with whoever you hire. That's it.
Fair enough.
I got a question here, just throw out to everybody, in the big picture. Is HR out there to protect the employee, or is it there to protect the employer? When it comes right down to it, are they going to protect the employee? Are they gonna go after, or are they gonna protect the employer?
They protect the employer through their policies and support their policies. But I believe they also have to protect the employee because of law.
I perceive it as HR is there to educate the employee of what policies are.
Yes.
When it comes down to protect somebody, they're there to protect the employer. I think we're kind of getting some of this confused a little bit in there, because I've personally had cases where while I'm in employment was 100% against the employer when the employer was right. So the employees are very well protected from the state side of it. When push comes to shove, the state will stick their neck out, way out there for the employee versus the employer.
And what is your, I guess, what are you getting at?
Well, we're in a very unique position here. We are up here in front of everybody, but ultimately, Kara has employees, Susie has employees, Tina has employees, Becky has employees. They're all, there's basically four different businesses right there that have different job descriptions for the employees. Really, if you want to push it to the limit, there should be at least 4 HR people, one for each office to know what's going on there. And right now, we don't have the funding. We got an elevator that's looking at us, we don't know what it's gonna cost us.
I disagree with that. They all have employees that they are responsible to hire and fire, and they're responsible for their daily activities. But they are all county employees. All of their paychecks come from us signing off on the paychecks. That is our responsibility. They're all county employees.
But it's not us as a board to dictate what their employees are.
Not their daily activities and hiring and firing, that is on them, that is each one of their individual offices. But that is what makes this difficult, because they're all county employees, and we are ultimately responsible.
Okay, in our statute, right, for all of our job descriptions, we are, as elected officials, responsible for that employee's actions. If they go rob something, they come after us. They do not come after the employee. They come after us.
That's why I have $100,000 bond on
Yep.
my position.
And that's why
Correct?
mine's higher. Mine's higher.
But it's not just about legal, worrying about going to court. It's about your employees' education, having everything consistent as far as salaries, job descriptions, putting things in the paper, putting a help wanted ad when there's an opening, keeping everything consistent. It's that part of it too. And we're running a smoother operation when we get all those things going in the right direction.
And then the personnel files. My employees' personnel files will not be listed.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
And then the personnel files. My employees' personnel files will not be listed.
You'd have to put a copy all at his, there should be a copy of all of them at his office right now because he's human resources.
Are they?
Well, they're not, that's all under my,
Lock and key.
under my, state statute, they're locked in the vault. They can't be down there where there's access to other things. But where you're wanting an HR person to work from their house, that stuff cannot leave this door.
Well, no, it has to be locked up, but that's part of the worry that it's secure.
But they're wanting to work from their house and the
Because it's a
HR files.
consultant, it's an independent consultant contractor. They can work from wherever they want to.
But the personnel files is one of the
Drew
things
works from
listed.
her home when she works for us. That's just the way it is.
How does the current company get HR files?
They don't have them.
So how do they know about the employee, or how do they know their history? How do they know any of it?
They don't.
Well, how do you make an investigation?
Why would they? That's part of the clerk's stuff, not HR.
Go ahead.
So she would consult for the 90 days and then if need be, month to month, for what purpose?
It wouldn't even probably be month to month.
Okay, but what's the purpose?
Instance, if there's a circumstance where an hourly employee wants or needs help.
So it's going beyond the scope of her setting up HR.
I don't know, we haven't talked about that.
Don't we already kind of have that with that employer's council though? I mean,
Not
Yes,
for
and
hourlies.
employees
Yes, you
can
do.
call them. We've
Yeah.
already discussed that. Employees can call them
Okay, where's
anytime they want.
where's the number for employees? Have they had education on how to call for help?
Yes, all the
All
department
our
heads have
employees
told
have
them that. We've told
Do
you
they
guys
have-
that.
I know you've told them, but is it out there where everyone, you forget there's other people besides you guys. There's the road and bridge
They know
and there's
that.
the sheriff's department. Does everybody have a little card or something with the name and the number that they can call if they need something? And then we're gonna get charged more because we're not set up for that.
There's no extra charge. We've already talked to them.
I bet there would be if there's actually an investigation.
Well, then why
They
was
would
there
be
extra
charged.
charges with the fairgrounds?
That was between Michael and them. We needed them. They had to be the attorney in that case. That's why there was extra charges. That had nothing to do with the employee.
well, I think that's part of the nuts and bolts of this that's why I think it's important that the elected is part of this discussion because we need to know what works and what doesn't work. And if there's something that would assist them, then we jump on board with that. And if that's just a mere whatever, here's a little packet maybe that so-and-so could create that if the electeds like it, they could hand that out to each of their employees or some sort of update on, which I assume you guys already do. I highly doubt you don't. Try to keep your employees up to date on who to call or where to go or whatever for this and that. But if that's something that we need, or if there's something else that you guys think we need, or we think we need, I don't think this is just a county commissioner thing here. This is just for that aspect of it, that they are your employees. Even though they're county employees, they're your employees. And at the end of the day, you guys are responsible for your employees' actions.
I think it comes down to the funding.
And that may be part of it. The 7,500 is the number that was pitched. And maybe she can do something for 1,000. I don't know. If there's something we deem that, or if it's not her, we advertise for, we're looking for X, Y, and Z. We don't need the whole alphabet, but we want this, and can we get it for this price? And if we discover that the other things were covered with employers' council, then we bypass that. I don't want to discount the fact that there's price and value in something that somebody could offer us. I know that there's always room for improvement.
If it's under $7,500 and it's a contractor, you don't have to bid it out by state statute. And we don't have any of our own policies in place that changes that, so that's where we would go there. It'd be like hiring somebody to paint that hits $5,000, you don't necessarily have to have bids. We do stuff like that all the time.
So
It's not, we're not creating a job.
And Ms. Romano just came to you and said, hey, if
No, I just happened to know that she used to be in human resources and she retired. She was up at the camp in human resources. And I interviewed her. She did a very good job and she retired, and I knew she's retired.
You guys think of like, sorry.
I'm with Nate though. All the elected officials need to be in on that discussion, because there are some things that we think might be good. They've already got in place and are doing. And there's something that they need that we don't have, that may not even be in this proposal.
Okay. Do you guys see an area where something down, I mean, I know this is virtually turning into HR discussion, but is there avenues that you guys could use help? Or is there areas where you, as elected officials, see that isn't being provided that you think would go a long ways to help you with your employees in the offices? Or can you brainstorm and think of something, or I mean, not to put you on the spot right now, I mean, even if it's something you could think of over the course of the next couple of weeks, like, you know, I feel like this office, or maybe all the offices, are lacking in this aspect of something, and I'm with you 100%, you know, on the money. I agree completely. But like I said, I don't know that necessarily, the gal said she would accept a cut and paste, and she's willing to do a cut and paste kind of thing. It sounds like after the first of the year, potentially. I mean, if there's value in something, and it's a good value where money's well spent, I would like to at least consider it.
I'd be happy to make a list of things that I feel we need more education on as far as HR is concerned. And I could bring that back in later.
If we decided to do it, we could even have you, all of you, meet with her to brainstorm. And before we made a decision even, I think we could have her sit down and maybe she'd come up with some things that you hadn't thought of. You know, the goal is for everything to be consistent and fair across the board for liability reasons, and to keep our employees in a place where they feel secure and happy. We want to keep these employees. We want to know, you know, there might be things she can come up with for training to teach us how to keep our employees longer. And I think if you met with her, you might be surprised.
I don't have a problem with her personally, I just believe that
No,
she's
I-
related to
I don't
my
even-
employees is what I understand. And that is,
Yeah.
I think maybe about
Who's she related to?
she doesn't share a relationship with my former employees.
She's not related.
She has grandkids that are still kids and employees.
Oh, good God, this is a small town.
I'm just saying.
But,
Would that not, I mean, some people might see that, I don't have a problem with,
and your employee is my daughter.
I know,
Some people probably see that as a
they
problem.
probably do, but I'm
But
just.
that's
wanna-
gonna happen
I'm
in a
just
small
not sure.
town. She was
Well,
there before me.
If I have 2 employees that need some sort of mediation, are they gonna feel like that's gonna be an objective fee?
Well, then
That could be a
Michael could get
conflict.
involved.
I just want everybody to be aware of that. I don't even know this person, she might be the best HR person in the world. I just don't know how that will be seen in the future if there is a conflict in the future and she's the one that's mediating it.
Well, they do not have a relationship, so.
I do have one more comment if I may, Chair. Sure. I did email everybody back when I talked to Employers Council about, the resources available to the employees. I sent it to all of the commissioners and all the department heads and supervisors on how they could roll that information out to their employees to seek advice. And I can bring a copy of that, resend it if anybody is interested. And we're not really talking about Employers Council right now, but I do want to make that point that that was available.
And maybe this person could be the mediator or the go-between. And we could use Employers Council, and she could be the one that helps set up and make sure everybody has the right education to use Employers Council. Maybe she could be the one that gets everything going on that.
There is just a lot on that, once we do go over that, proposal, that is already stuff that's done by state statute by other departments, and, some stuff that just falls directly under each elected official. Some stuff is, I don't know, kind of silly. I don't think that she needs to waste her money or the county's money buying tokens. We've already went down that road of the tokens being purchased. Yes, definitely some things we do need. We did go through the LGLP training, which was very informative. I think Michael was the last one to take that once he got that training done, but, cause that's something that you guys had recommended that we do. But,
Well, once again, we haven't even gone through that list. That was just a list she made for us of possible things she could do for us. There's probably things that aren't on the list we could ask her to do. I haven't even really looked at it that close, to be honest.
It's
You
a-
probably have seen it a lot more than I have.
It's a contract for proposal.
But we asked her if it could be changed, and she said, of course.
So that's why I think it's important that the elected see it. I mean, they need to know what we're up to, and I think they, part of the concern is, will this morph into a full-time job? Well, I'll tell you what, when we keep going to the library and everywhere else and saying you gotta cut $50,000 here and $50,000 there, eventually it's gonna be jobs, because there is gonna be nowhere to cut. And that's gonna be the only place of savings. And if we can piecemeal something together that would help our elected officials, I think that would be a good start. I'm not really, this board isn't really in the purview of supervising employees so much as our electeds are.
I think, I understand the budget thing. I'm sitting over here and I've seen it. But I think if we put a little bit out into this and just get ourselves on the right track and have someone, that's available down the line if we need a consultant, I think it's gonna help you.
So it sounds like we'll be paying for, we're either gonna be paying employers council or we're gonna be paying her for extra services.
Well, we have spent so much already out because we got those 2 bills for the remainder of the dispatch. The elevator, right now, I think we're almost out of, our financial admin. We have no extra money. We are wiped out, we haven't even started.
Well, we still have to take care of removing the ramp on the law enforcement building too.
So I would say that's part of HR discussion, or do we need to have a separate discussion about that? Which, if we're gonna include the elected official, we would continue on with that as a group. But I think we have a bunch to think about, because like I said, I don't think any decisions have been made as far as I understand. No. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the best place to start, is having these ladies in here, because they're the ones in direct supervision of these employees for the most part, and we probably ought to have Jimmy. I mean, there's others that should probably be involved in this discussion, and their advice to us of what they're lacking might be the best way to start. And if that costs $1,000 to solve that problem, that's probably money well spent. To just randomly go through the whole proposal is probably unnecessary. But I think it'd be a good start to get everybody's advice on or how we can maybe proceed forward with something that might help them. If they don't feel they need anything, that's fair too. I mean, it'd be a good place for you to even ask your employees, is there somewhere that I'm failing you that you would appreciate something differently done by me? And if I don't know how to get that answer, I might be able to have access to somebody that can help me get that answer for you and for the future.
We did ask her a little bit about if she would be comfortable looking at the salary tier system, if that's really the right way to have your salary system, or if you should have a pay scale. Would that be less complicated, less confusing? She talked about possibly going through and helping every office update your job descriptions by talking to you and the person that does the job, which that sounds like a pretty good idea. So then when you go to hire, things have changed, technology and everything, things like that, to get them all updated and how to put together your WANA then from that job description, just things like that. Just things to get everybody consistent, so it helps you do your job better, and it helps your employees be more stable. And
The only thing I ask though is if she does mimic her, she does not have to go to Campbell County. She have no money, like,
yeah,
Campbell County.
we'd love to
She
mimic
needs to
Campbell
go,
County's wouldn't we?
like, look at Crick County or.
I think she was just talking about how they use it, how if you're, by the year of service or experience, or there's all different ways to look at it, so. So those are the kind of things, if you guys make up a list, then maybe we can go back to her and say, these are the things we need.
I'll go back to funding, so.
It all goes back to funding.
I am not opposed. There are good ideas, don't get me wrong. There are ideas that I've marked off that we already do. We wouldn't need, as far as what we have to do per statute. As there's no involvement
And
in
she's not
HR
familiar
there.
with that, so.
So the funding, the way to treat our employees in this economy is.
But at this point, it'd be kind of a one and done, except that she would possibly be available for problems that arise. I think I can speak for everybody, we have no plans to make an HR person. We can't afford it.
Anything else? Becky, could you get a copy of this, like the Marty and well, like the sheriff's department and the road and bridge and like a feel for maybe the discussion that we've had today, like,
So instead of adding it to the next one in Upland, add it to the first meeting in October.
maybe that'd be the best way to do it, so everybody could show up.
Everyone come and we'll go through it
Would you guys
line
be?
by line.
And I mean, maybe it'll cost $1,000, I don't know. You know, I mean, if we determine that there's a deficit somewhere and if it's $1,000 or $1,500 to fix that, and she's willing to do it, or whoever is willing to do it, then maybe it's money well spent, we can decide that in a month or so.
You know, with you guys' feedback, then that'd be our job, is like, okay, weigh the advantages versus the cost to move forward, but we definitely need to keep the other elected officials in this discussion.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's important to remember public health and the extension office and places like that, because they sometimes get left out.
What do you guys, sorry.
No, right.
The tier system on pay, you guys have any thoughts on that, like how that's currently done?
I think it's flawed in the aspect where there's not a lot of room between each tier. You can go in that tier, but
Once you reach the top,
once you
you're
reach the
there.
top, you're done. And there's not a lot of wiggle room between each tier.
I think there's about $100 between each tier.
And you can do that, accomplish that in how fast? I mean, basically a year you can,
Oh,
If you wanna keep your employees pretty quick.
pretty quick.
As fast as you want, if there's not a freeze on the
pay your
pay
scale.
scale right now. But it's up to you, but once you basically reach the second tier, if you're not the deputy, you're stuck at the second.
Maybe,
But there's only $100 between the second and the deputy. Your deputy can do everything that you can do, but they only make $100 more than the person in the second.
Which they are required to do if you are not.
Yeah,
and do they fall, does the responsibility of that role, the burden of that responsibility fall upon that deputy upon your absence?
yes, they're expected to do anything if we walk out that door.
So,
Or die.
don't do that.
Don't be doing that.
So,
It would create a vacancy.
maybe a tier system isn't the proper way that we should describe the job. I mean, if Weston County can only afford to pay X, Y, or Z for these positions, maybe that's the way it's described. And I mean, there may be a 6-month probationary period and then you move into whatever and that, sorry, but this is it. I mean,
But I mean, there again, you need to find it to change everything too.
yeah.
And we are definitely not asking to decrease those tiers.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And the thing is it's not based on an education. Not one position in this
Yeah.
are you required
His.
to have, no, his,
Well-
his elected, I thought you meant his, but you don't have to have a college education to do any of these. And just
Yeah, I
because
know.
you have a college education doesn't mean that you're gonna be paid more.
You don't even have to be a sheriff to be a sheriff.
So that can't be in any of this. Because you have a college education, good for you, but that doesn't qualify you for
Which
anything
sucks
because
because,
every position up here, you get trained because everyone is different. I mean, you can walk in my door and you have to be trained in everything in my office, but if you move to, like if someone were to transfer over into Susie's from mine, they wouldn't know anything to do in Susie's office. You're going to have to be retrained in the treasurer's office, or you go into the assessor's office. None of them are the same. So, I mean, the tier system is what it is. There's 3 different levels that you're paid, because there's 4 jobs in each office.
basically it sounds to me you're just using it basically as a probationary period
You
anyway.
are, yeah. And if,
So I can get you here and
yep,
fortunately that's
and
your
if,
stuff.
if we were allowed to move up, you could move this one up to this one, or you could give this one 50 cents instead of the full, you know, move it clear up until you've got all of them at the same except your debt.
It's just a.
And we all know, we all know exactly how it is. There's no confusion on the tier system at all. We're just at that spot where there's no way we can move anybody up right now, because we're at the freezing point.
Except cost of living.
Right, and if the cost of living goes up, then the tier system.
And that's where I think we failed most, is the prices have gone up, but we haven't been able to limit the cost of living.
Which, I mean, that happens, there's just.
Yeah, and just
But-
the employees, right? Their cost of living has gone up, but so is doing business as the county, so.
Right.
It's,
But you
It's
have
like
to
the road.
remember, the insurance went up, and
Yeah.
that is a huge cost that the employee did not have to take on. Yes, not everybody takes the insurance, but that's their choice to not take it. If they don't, I mean, they
Some
might
people
not
don't
need
have
it,
the choice, though, they have
but-
to take it through their
Yeah.
spouse.
well,
So I wouldn't word it that
but, I mean, that's one thing that they don't
way. Right.
take, but that was something that the county could help with, and they chose to do that, and that helped that employee by not having to have that much more taken out of their paycheck.
But I think you also have to remember it costs money to lose people too.
Thank you.
To retrain, to retention is a big thing, and yeah, it sucks, there's no, money's not there, but if you don't have a trained person, I mean, if you lost your second in command tomorrow, that's a loss, a huge loss, that you're not just gonna make up and by saying, well, you get insurance, saying, no, that's not
And
gonna
our
help.
second in command are the ones that don't make very much.
maybe that's what we need to figure out
Only
next
to
time.
bump them.
Bump the second in charge, and unfortunately, that might come at the cost of an insurance increase.
Because right now, they only make $100 more than the person that's third in line.
I think Nate's right, I mean, if insurance went up tomorrow again, I think you'd have to start looking at employees contributing to that, but then they haven't got cost of living raises, so you're even gouging them further, so I mean, it's really it's a teeter-totter to figure out how to balance it. All right, so we have that put back on the agenda.
Uh-huh.
Would we consider that the HR discussion, or do we need to do more?
I think so, just kind of.
I think we had a short discussion.
Yeah. We do appreciate you guys coming in, it's important, so we need to figure it out. I think everybody's got good intentions. Just think, we're trapped in with 5 walls, so.
That might get you your doorway you need up there.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, this is one, thank you.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes,
Okay, you do?
yes.
You know we're gonna be.
We will be meeting on it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you need it back?
Well,
So
I
you
get
have-
back because they're gonna be here October.
Yeah, October 1st. Yes, so we have a full day of court, so that'll be good.
Oh, that's really handy, isn't it?
Full day.
Good, they'll get to hear the.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's good.
Maybe we
Another.
can get some money for it.
You think,
I didn't read it that way, but
do you think the jury stuff could ever fall under that, security kind of issue? Like, you know how there's questions about where to house them and stuff during, I know most of it's confidentiality related, but could that potentially be security related, like, help figure out a way to house?
I can ask Judge Cosby.
Or your door.
Yeah.
When they're here doing that, looking at that, think outside the box as far as you can.
I didn't read it that way. We have an assessment that we need to fill out. Did you receive that as well?
This is all about.
So it's maybe not what we're.
I I didn't perceive it that way.
Okay.
But I can get with Michael and he can fill me in, but we'll have a meeting with Judge Causey and Judge Bush.
All right, well, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to public comment again. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Commissioners comment? Commissioner Todd? Commissioner Buell?
Thank you.
Commissioner Ivey?
Last Tuesday, I was on about a 3-hour conference call with the WCCA Executive Board. The majority of that 3 hours was in executive session, so a lot can't be discussed, but there was a motion made to move forward with possible some litigation on behalf of all 23 counties that, be very careful what I say here, is can really affect our counties and our cities and towns in our counties. Not so much us right now, but I can see where it'll be coming down the road. What will happen? I can probably divulge a lot more here in 30 to 45 days when it becomes in the public. So, then there was a discussion about expenses, and it may come back to the counties may have to cough up a little bit on it, but we did put a cap on the expense that could be incurred at $40,000 for the whole state. So that would be less than $2,000 per county.
Oh.
You know, that was one of the concerns is, you know, we start getting into this, so they did put a cap on it. You know, and it's probably going to be broken up even unless a couple of the counties that are going to be directly involved with this lawsuit right away, they may cough up some extra. So on that end of it, but that was what happened with the meeting we had last week. So I'll keep, when I can divulge more when it comes out in the public, I will divulge more to everybody. But at this time, that's about as far as I can go with it.
Thank you for taking the time to do that. Okay. Commissioner.
A lot of volunteers helping out with the fires. I know you mentioned the last meeting, but the fires continued. There was a lot of people helping out, whether they were bringing water out or whatever. You know, Carson Keyline said that they were doing an auction and raising upwards of $150,000+ for the help and ways that they could just expand that in beneficial ways. But I know there was a couple of people that mentioned that Tim Sewell was extreme in some of his endeavors in helping out with that one. That would be nice to him.
So just on that note, he was one of the employees that worked. He got in, he showed up to work at 8 o'clock the next morning after running a blade all night. And Jimmy was out, he was working on like an hour and a half. So one of his other guys, he sent him home at 6 and told, don't come back till the next day. You know, so even our county employees have been going out on them for a lot of that to rate that. Sure.
Thank you for those. I have no we move on to vouchers.
Fun one.
You got that one done?
You were sitting right next to the furnace.